The Idol episode 2, Electric Boogaloo, has now caught us up to the 2 episodes that premiered at Cannes, and y'all gave that a 5-minute standing ovation. I don't want to hear French people be snobby ever again. Episode 2 reveals a new problem for the show, and that's the fact that we're really watching 2 shows fighting for control. So let's start with the first half. I'm gonna call it Jocelyn vs. the Machine. In this section, we watch as Jocelyn tries to flex more control when she tries to present a new, sexier version of her comeback single, World Class Sinner, to her management team, and it doesn't go well.
I mean, okay, I'll go first. I mean, it's not happening.
To be honest, the remix isn't that great. It just sounds like the old version with moaning backing vocals courtesy of Tedros applying asphyxiation. This doesn't go over well with her team, but in particular Nikki, who ends up dressing Jocelyn down. It was surprising to see Nikki reveal herself to have this stern, manipulative side, because in the first episode, she seemed aloof and more there for comedic relief, but the way she just shuts Jocelyn down is particularly cruel, especially the way she just ends the conversation.
And whether you like it or not, you are going for that ride.
My suggestion to you, appear grateful.
Jocelyn tries to get some support by calling Tedros, but he's hitting her with the cold end of the hot and cold routine. If you know, you know. We then move on to what I think is the best part of this episode, and it's the music video shoot for World Class Sinner. We watch as Jocelyn slowly spirals and repeats take after take, trying to get the perfect performance, extending the shoot and everyone's patience in the process. So I think this music video shoot is the best part of the 2 episodes of The Idol we've seen, because it allows it to have its cake and eat it too. And this is what I mean by this. This music video shoot allows it to explore the exploitative nature of the industry, but in particular, it helps to flesh out Jocelyn's situation and the relationship dynamics between her and her teammates, or her PR team. So we see the fact that from her PR team standpoint, that they are put in a difficult position where they have their human side conflicting with the business side, right? Where you can tell that her team, for the most part, cares about her as a person, and they see that she is struggling. You know, her mom hasn't even passed. It hasn't even been a year since her mom has passed away. But their human side is being suppressed by the fact that their livelihood is dependent on her and their ability to get her to do what they need her to do to keep making money. I noticed an interesting theme throughout this section is the fact that anytime Jocelyn tries to exert any kind of agency or she just, you know, is a human, right? She just isn't a machine, right? Like one of the things I'm kind of seeing in the show is the fact that when you become famous the way Jocelyn is, you know, as a normal person, we're only seeing the glitz and glamour part, and we dream of being famous, but we're not seeing the bad part of the fact that when you enter into the industry, you're trying to make a human being into a product, but the thing is, human beings aren't products. When a human being is put into that kind of industry, it will grind that person down, and that it forces like unrealistic expectations on them, and it has little care for their emotional needs, right? Like I've thought of this element in the show, and I don't know if they're gonna hit on it, is the fact that Jocelyn's mental health is not doing very well. I think in particular in the moment we really see it where she breaks down and cries out for her mom, even though she knows her mom has passed.
Mom? What's up, John? What? Mom?
Oh, Jesus, it's all over her face. Oh, man.
Joss, we're...
Joss, are you okay? Are you calling for your mom? You didn't just call for your mom?
No. My mom died last year.
And we haven't gotten a whole lot on Jocelyn's mom. I'm curious if we're gonna get an episode that focuses on her, but I'm getting the distinct feeling that her mom was not the best kind of person.
I just didn't realize how hard this was gonna be without her.
When I lost my mother, I was a wreck for a year. Of course, my mother was nice to me.
I get the feeling her mom probably fits the momager type. You know, if anything, I think Nikki is probably similar to Jocelyn's mom, because if you're a parent and you're putting your kid in this situation to be, you know, a star, in particular an industry that is, you know, infamous for the fact that it preys on children. You know, I don't need to bring up all the like Dan Schneider stuff and all the allegations in Hollywood. The industry, in terms of what it does to human beings, right? Like I found it interesting that anytime Jocelyn would bring up a concern or a human need, she wasn't met with her management team with an acknowledging of her feelings. It was always, they always brought up money, right? They always brought up, this costs this much. This is gonna demand this much. This costs this much time. I can't afford it. And I think it just points out an inherent thing that our economic system is kind of like anti-human, right? It does not care about the emotional needs or the imperfections that come with being human. That all it cares about is that you be machine-like, and how that won't make someone happy. Like, I think, you know, like a question I would ask the audience was like, how many of you really want to be famous? Because the more and more we're given a peek behind the curtain of what it is like to be famous, you know, I think with this show, there's a pretty clear analogy between Jocelyn and Britney Spears, that whatever this fame thing does, whatever you're hoping it will do for you, it won't. It won't make you happy. It won't fix you, yet we still want it. We still go for it, right? And that's an interesting kind of conflict that I wonder if they're going to focus on more as the show continues. Let's go on to the second show that I was talking about, and that is what I like to call the Tedros show. And the Tedros show is all the problematic stuff that people are talking about in this show, that comes with the Tedros show. So let me just wrap up Tedros parts of this real quick in terms of its plot. So Tedros, finally, after negging Jocelyn constantly throughout the episode, because clearly she wants to see him again, he finally comes and visits her and brings some of his people over to the place, right? And then it climaxes in this sex scene where we watch the Weeknd dirty talk to Jocelyn, and it is unintentionally one of the funniest things I have ever seen. I'm sure there's already people quoting many parts of this, you know.
Fucking stretch that tiny little pussy.
To be totally honest, I kind of loved it, but not because it was good. But now I want to talk about a bigger thing, right? Which is with the Tedros sections of the show. All the allegations that we heard in the reports of the show being pornographic, or it seemed like someone's sex fantasies, all those parts come from Tedros's part of the show. I know that the Weeknd is coming out and saying that Tedros's parts are supposed to be intentionally bad. I don't know if I believe that or not, but his parts basically take all the stuff that I said in the previous section of the kind of way the industry manipulates and degrades people and treats them like things. His part of the show kind of gets rid of all of that, right? Like, watching this episode, I became more aware of the fact that Tedros' part of the show is sort of this, is supposed to be this kind of heightened version of what we're seeing Jocelyn go through. He's almost kind of a metaphor for the industry and how predatory it is.
Lower, Isaac. Fucking lower. Yeah. You're not a human, Isaac. Don't forget. You're a fucking star.
But I think the reason it doesn't really work as well is because his section is way more heightened and almost fantastical. But the thing is, and we witnessed this in the music video shoot, that the reality of what she's running into, of having it where her PR team is like her friend, but also the very people who are manipulating her, is way more effective and scarier, because that's more the reality of the situation. It's not gonna, the predatory parts of the industry are not gonna be so obvious and in your face the way someone like a Tedros is, with his slick back hair and his rat tail and the dirty talking and the pulling out a knife and saying don't be scared and stuff like that, and the crazy scene that happens at the end of this episode. What Jocelyn is dealing with is scarier and works better than Tedros' part, because whenever Tedros comes into the scene, Jocelyn's character and all her nuance gets flattened in order for the show to just play out these sex fantasy things. It's just wild, right? Like, what does the dirty talk scene in this finale really do to flesh out any like character dynamics? Like, one, does it really need to go on as long as it does? I mean, don't get me wrong, I found it hilarious because of how crazy it was, but that doesn't mean it's good. Like, what is the purpose of that? And I'm kind of curious and worried a little bit, because at the end of this episode, Tedros kind of like makes his move, and he kind of, you know, after Jocelyn is put in this delicate situation where basically the video shoot gets canceled, and now Nikki is trying to possibly replace Jocelyn with Diane or Jenny from Blackpink, which is like in and of itself kind of preposterous, especially the fact that somehow Diane is linked to Tedros. It's just ridiculous. But now that Tedros has moved in with Jocelyn, and I get the feeling he's gonna move in his cult followers, let's be real, this seems like some kind of weird sex cult, that now we're gonna get less separation between Jocelyn's part of the show and Tedros' part of the show. That all we're gonna get now is the Tedros show. that is going to fully take over, you know, the rest of the 4 episodes of this run. And if that happened, I think we will look back and see the Jocelyn part with the music video of what the show at its best in terms of what we're given, what it could have been. And I'm worried about that, to be honest. But let me know if you saw the second episode, and I need y'all to rate my man Tedros' dirty talk. Let me know, what did y'all think of that? Did y'all find that sexy at all? If y'all did, you know, rate it out of 10, and then I will see you in the next episode. Mahalo.